If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. But go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could mean mockery and isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds, and it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it, do it, do it, all the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2025, I'd do these 7 things. This is my step-by-step guide. Or you could literally just do the opposite of all these, and it's basically a guaranteed way to stay poor. Number 1. Reps before results. I loved this quote. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. This was Bruce Lee, kind of the GOAT. Winning looks like luck from the outside, but when you zoom in, it's a numbers game. First you do reps, then you suck, then you improve, then you win, then you repeat, or you find a harder game. Most people never get past the reps stage. They hit a little bit of resistance and then they absolutely fold. That is why you do not have the life that you want right now. When I first started getting on the internet, people thought it was bizarre that I had so many businesses by then. Well, I had been buying businesses and investing for 15 years. So of course I had a little head start. The first time that I raised my very first fund, I had to sell something like 150 investors in one-on-one meetings before I got my first big check. That led to a business that eventually did $1 billion in assets under management at First Trust. But that first year was miserable. And so you have to realize that more reps equals more learning. More learning equals better decisions equal better wins. I sort of think about it like a game of dominoes where you can basically see how to make one fall in front of the other by having one that is stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger because momentum compounds. So every industry has outliers, but if you dig deeper, they almost always fall into 2 categories. They are, in fact, statistical anomalies. You aren't one of them. They weren't actually lucky. Their first try was their 50th rep in disguise. Nobody actually hits it big on their first try. Like a lot of people I know go back to Mark Zuckerberg and think, well, he actually tinkered on countless projects before he built Facebook. Or you see a writer that goes viral all the time. Well, they probably wrote for 10 years in obscurity. You know, Ray Kroc said it best. Luck is a dividend on sweat. The more you sweat, the luckier you get. I found this to be true again and again in life. There's really no such thing as an overnight success. And if you realize this, then the question is really, how do you stack your game so that you have a higher likelihood of winning? I think a lot of people don't know how to apply a rule like this. So the way that I do is I set rep goals, not outcome goals. So what does that mean? That means you stop judging your early results because the first 20 reps are going to be atrocious, embarrassing to watch, and you think like an athlete. So athletes think about, if I want to hit this outcome, they actually don't set the outcome as the goal. They set their actions. So let's say you want to lose 20 pounds or you want to grow your business to $2 million in revenue. Well, if you want to lose 20 pounds, what do? You say, I need to go to the gym 5 days a week. I need to walk 10,000 hours every day. I shouldn't eat processed foods, and I'm not going to drink. I'm going to do that for 30 days, then 60 days, then 90 days. I'm going to see where I'm at. In business, it's the same thing. I want to hit $1 million in revenue. Right now, I'm only at $100,000. What are the 5 tasks that I can do that I think will increase my likelihood of success? That's it. And if you can do that continuously over time, you are much more likely to become a millionaire. Number 2, the flake tax. Most people think success comes from big moves, like a genius idea, perfect opportunity, lucky break. But actually, it comes from this one simple formula. Say you'll do something, actually do it, repeat. That's it. It sounds obvious, but here's the problem. Most people don't do it. You overcommit, you underdeliver, you spend your career making excuses. And over time, that comes as a cost. Your most important promise is a promise you make to yourself. Now, the reason why this works like compound interest is every time you follow through, you actually earn credibility points with yourself. Every time you flake, you lose them. Then you think, it doesn't really matter if I keep promises to myself. And at first, you don't notice. No one notices, but over time, this creates an exponential gap. A good example would be, I had an employee, super smart. I've often found the smarter you are, the more often you can make excuses for yourself. And he's what I call a flake. Makes promises, misses deadlines, explains why a lot, super verbose, and stagnates. Whereas the type of person you want to be is an executor. So two types of people. I had one of these. They're called a flake. You make promises, you miss deadlines, you explain why verbosely. That means you stagnate. As opposed to an executor, which means you make promises and you keep them. You earn trust, you get more opportunities. The results, flakes have what's called linear progress. They kind of go side to side like this. They're always having to start over. They never really break out to the next level. Executors have compounding trust, which means the things they do get easier with time, and they keep getting more opportunities because these things get easier with time. The guy who delivers consistently will have more money in his bank account by the end. That's just the end of it. Doing the thing is the fastest way to stand out because most people don't. So keep your promise to yourself and watch how you start to keep promises to other people. In 90% of businesses, they are built either to just survive or to thrive. We ran 5,000 business owners through our model to figure out, could we predict those that will thrive or survive? The answer is this quiz. We call it the Empire Builder Index. It's completely free for you. It's about 15 questions, and it will tell you if your business is set up for you to not only win, but maybe one day sell it. We score and rank you from A to F, and then tell you the things that you need to change inside of your business in order for that business to be more fun to run and potentially more fun for somebody else to take over, and thus you to become more profitable. If you want this free quiz, you can click the link in the show description and ask about the Empire Builders Index. You'll get it delivered right to you. It's free. It takes about 90 seconds, maybe a couple minutes at most to fill out. And hopefully at the end, you will get an incredible score. But if you don't get an incredible score, you're also welcome to reach out to my team. We have workshops, we have communities, we have just about everything builders need to grow. We're happy to help you if we can. Number 3, a very controversial one by one of my favorite authors of all time. His name was Bukowski, Charles Bukowski. It actually, he says it multiple ways, but one of my favorite poems of his is about being a writer. And it's so good, I want to read it to you. He says, if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind, but go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could mean mockery and isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds, and it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it, do it, do it, all the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. What does this mean? It means when you say you are going to do a thing, that's one thing. But if you are going to say it, do it. Do not just try. Bukowski is obsessed with this idea of removing the word try from your vocabulary. And he would say, not to try either for Cadillac's creation or immortality. You wait, and if nothing happens, you wait some more. It's like a bug high on the wall. You wait for it to come to you. When it gets close enough, you reach out, slap it, and kill it. Or if you like its looks, you make a pet out of it. And I think those encompass the idea that you should paste on your forehead, which is writing about writer's block is better than not writing at all. That you find what you love and let it kill you. That's his line. And we are here to laugh at the odds and live our lives so well that death will tremble to take us. Remove try from your vocabulary. By the way, if you're building a business right now and you're stuck or you want to break out to the next level, maybe you're not where you want to be today. Believe me, I've been there many, many times. I want you to know I got you. We help thousands of business owners a year figure out how to scale to the next level. One of my favorite mentors said, every level you have, there's just a higher level and a higher devil. And so if you've been in business for a while and you're doing 6, 7, or 8 figures, there's probably one thing standing in the way of your next level. That's why we host growth and scale workshops 4 times a year throughout the year in Austin, in Miami, in San Diego, and you may be a fit to come to one of them. If it sounds interesting to you to get help on how to scale your business to the next level, you can reach out to my team at the link in the show notes. We believe in you builders, but we also believe that it's a lonely road and you can't do it by yourself. Number 4, be a fixer, not a freeloader. So There's a dividing line between two types of people in today's world. At my company, we call these fixers and freeloaders, and they're different than flakes and executors. The leaky ship analogy basically is this. You're on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Suddenly a hole appears, water pours in. What happens next? Well, you have a bunch of people who say, I'm so proud of our boat. The hole just gives it character. Guys, let's not be negative. Don't worry about the hole. Are you going to fix it? Technically, it's not a hole. It's a special port. If there's a hole there, it's there for a reason. What? Like you're an expert at shipbuilding? Everyone, let's just mind our own business. Or I like it with a hole even better. And this always makes me chuckle because while it's ridiculous that we would think of drowning in a boat while you have one guy trying to patch it and everyone else saying things that don't matter, it's very true. And it's an example of what's happening in society and kind of scary how accurate it is in multiple different ways. The freeloaders, they just kind of react. They tell you all their feelings about it. While the freeloaders are not searching for how to fix it, they're searching for ways to feel better about it. They discuss, they theorize, they wait. You guys have met somebody like this, haven't you? You're like, you've brought me that same problem, Diane, about you and your husband for 15 years. Have you tried therapy? Have you talked to them in person? Have you sat down? Have you looked yourself in the mirror and tried to be better? Is there anything we want to do here? Or do we just want to still talk about the issue for 72 years later? Whereas fixers are a totally different breed. They see a problem and they just end up fixing it. And you know what a wild part is? Some weird thing is happening in our culture today where we think that if we fix things and somebody doesn't pay us for it, that's like, ugh, really? Like, I'm working at this company and I shouldn't have to do this thing that's not my job. That's a terrible way to stay poor forever. You also don't want that in your culture of your company. I was at my friend Andy Frisella's company, and he has a saying, which is, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I remember the moment that I realized how deep his culture was, is that I was in the bathroom at his beautiful 100,000 square foot headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri. I was fixing my makeup or something in the bathroom, and this woman comes out of the stall and she grabs the, soap and water and starts washing her hands. And then when she's done, she grabs a paper towel and she wipes the countertop and the sink and then throws it away. I thought that was nice, like a little touch above and beyond. I don't do that every time I wash my hands. And then another woman came in. She does the same thing. She washes her hands, she grabs the paper towel, she cleans the countertop, she cleans the sink. And I pause for a second. And I do the inappropriate thing that I do because I just can't be quiet ever. And I'm like, what the are you doing? Why are you washing that countertop and the thing? Like, is that something that you do here? And she just looks at me with this look of disdain and says, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And so I march out of the bathroom immediately and go to my friend DJ who works at the company. And I'm like, who was that? Was that like your new CEO, your head of marketing, your COO? And he was like, oh no, that's Sally. She's on the sales team. She's kind of junior, she's new, but I think she's going to work out here. And I realized how deep their culture was because even his employees were repeating it back. That is the perfect example of a fixer. And humans like that, they get to architect the entire world as opposed to be a meme where you're wishing and hoping that somebody else will fix things. The truth of the matter is the world is always going to be full of leaks, and that's actually kind of our opportunity. Okay, number 5 is climbing the NPC ladder to main character energy. So I like to ask people, where are you on the NPC ladder? See, first there are NPCs, right? These are in video games, non-player characters. They exist to create the illusion of a world alive. Like, they populate the towns, they kind of repeat that scripted dialogue and react in super predictable ways. They don't actually play the game. They're like a glorified chair, right? The shopkeeper who says, welcome traveler, welcome traveler, welcome traveler. The blacksmith who does the same thing. The idea is they don't connect the dots. They're not important. And generally speaking, they're just wandering around. Then there are the PCs, the player characters. They're the ones that make things happen, the ones with all of the control, the ones who are actually debating whether not somebody should fight dragon, but like, let's go fix the village and kill the dragon. PCs understand something that most people don't, which is no one's coming to save you or pick you up. And the world defaults to people who step up. And so I think about the NPC ladder as this: low end, not my problem. Nobody told me to do anything. Someone should fix this. If nobody steps up, I guess I will. I'll handle it. So the idea in business is you probably right now in your business have people who say these things to you. This tells you how you should pay them. At the low end of the scale, you have minimum wage labor, which is what I consider bottom rung. And at the high end of the ladder, you have top rung, or what I would consider C-suite, or people who are on a path for growth. Bottom rung employees, minimum wage employees, say things like, I just work here. I don't know, not my job. Second rung, they say, ooh, nobody told me to do that. So it's not like I won't do it, but nobody told me. You have to tell me to do something. They're like a human motion detector. Only take action when directed and somebody is moving in front of them. Third rung is somebody that says, someone should really fix this. It's like an armchair CEO, right? They're diagnosing project problems. They're telling you what's wrong, but they don't actually fix it. Then the next rung is, well, if nobody else steps up, I guess I will. I think about this as the lazy fixer. This is like, well, I guess I'm doing this again. Well, I'm always working late instead of the other guy. And then you got the top tier, the PCs, who say, I'll handle it. They see the problem, they take action. The idea is in your business, I want you to catalog every single person along those lines. And then I want you to communicate this with your team. I get on our Monday morning meeting and I say, hey, by the way, guys, if you say these sorts of lines, you get paid this sort of level. If you say these sorts of lines, you'll get paid that sort of level. You decide, do you want to be a main character? Or do you want to be part of the show? Neither are wrong, but you got to decide, and they pay different. I built something for you builders. If you are building a business right now, I think this is the playbook for scaling businesses. We call it our contrarian operating system. It's how I manage all of our businesses to both grow really simply, but consistently. And it's free for you. If you want it, just click the link in the show description and try out the operating system. I really think, you guys, if you want to have a business, not a job, you have to have a system and a process and not a hope and a prayer. If this is useful for you all as well, you can talk to my team. We have tons of resources for builders. I am here to make sure you succeed. Number 6, action before opportunity. Most people are allergic to this concept. They wait for the perfect role, the dream project, the right time, and they convince themselves that when the time comes, they're going to take action. But your bank account is a direct reflection of how fast you move and how many risks you take. So I want you to think action first, then opportunity follows. In your business, this is how I think about it. You take action even when you don't know what to do, which increases your trust and belief in your ability to move, which actually creates more opportunity for you, which gives you more actions to take. This is the virtuous cycle that I want you to follow. And how do you do this in practice? I'd ask yourself today, what is my typical timeline for one activity that's really important for my business or life? That might be something like, hey, I'll get to that by the end of the day today. Every time you want to give a deadline that's like end of day today, tomorrow, next week, try doing it in 1 hour. Try doing it in 20 minutes. Try materially changing the trajectory of your life by compressing timelines, because people who compress timelines, they win. And the last one is number 7. Your economic superpower is I do. That leads to graphs like this, which show you that over time, if you are never married, and if you were married and never divorced, there is a delta of somewhere between $300,000 to $1 million in net worth, which is kind of crazy. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and marry just about anybody you find, but what I will tell you is put your priority of partnership very high. One, because it's cool. I'm married, I could tell you. It's actually pretty cool. It's hard at times, but nowhere near as hard, I think, as being single. Being single is really hard, actually. But you know what's cool? When you find your person, you are going to have to compromise. You're going to have to take action. You're going to have to trust. You're going to have to be a better person. They're going to be a mirror and reflection of all the things you hate about yourself constantly. But it turns out one of the fastest ways to wealth is finding another human who can tolerate you for the long term. And so in a world in which people tell you that marriage doesn't matter, I'm going to say the opposite. In fact, when I do business deals, I like to see people that can have a long-term partner, because at least that guy can tolerate them. All right, 7 things I would do if I wanted to be a millionaire in 2025. One kind of crazy one here at the end, all the way to a bunch you would be crazy not to listen to. Hey crew, this is so cool. The podcast is growing like crazy, and it's only actually because of one thing, you. I don't know if you know this, but the only way the Big Deal Pod grows is when you share it with somebody else. We don't do ads, we don't do pay for play, we don't go on other people's podcasts and talk about it. So if you think there was something helpful here, if we made you money, we made you think about your business or life differently, the most most beautiful thing you can do for me is share it. And the most beautiful thing you can do for someone that you care about is to share it with them, help them grow alongside you. So please share the pod. That's how we grow. And also tag me on anything you share. I love resharing other builders across Instagram, Twitter, and all other platforms. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're super important to me.
Coaches are important. I still have coaches. You have to believe in the end of your story.
This week's episode is a totally different format. It is going to be multiple billionaire guests that I'm lucky enough to now call friends or have had on the podcast. And we are going to have bite-sized, best-in-class information from each one of them. If you've ever wondered, how do billionaires make all their money? What secrets could I learn from them? Can I get a billionaire mentor? And what does it take to make that crazy level of cash? How do you explain that at a very simplistic level? First principles thinking.
You say, what are our fundamental assumptions? What are we doing here?
Running my businesses like a coach would run a team, I became a lot more effective.
Where should a young builder start today?
You serve.
Would you tell them to go take active risk?
Well, first of all, the younger you are, the easier it is to take risks and use that to your advantage.
How do you know if you're moving fast enough on the decisions you want to make in life?
What happened if you thought about that idea 3 years ago? What if you executed on that, or where would you be now?
Welcome back to the Big Deal Podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez. This week is for you. Only the most tactical, most specific stories so that you can learn from these billionaires too, and you can steal my billionaire mentors. Next week, back to regularly scheduled programming with the fastest growing AI startup CEO out there. I'm going to save who it is. You guys could try to guess. But that episode is also amazing. And it turns out it's the next 2 weeks is only Billy's. So we're going to make a lot of money these next 2 weeks on the Big Deal Podcast. Let's get into it.
Coaches are important. I still have coaches. I have a swim coach.
You had a Navy SEAL live with you.
Coach. Because I wanted to get better at memorizing names. I wasn't great when I met people at remembering their names. So I brought a coach in to help me with that. I've had sales coaches. I've had coaches in so many areas of my life because I'm not great at everything. I want to go to people that are amazing at what they do. I live with Goggins. I lived on a monastery to get better at my spirituality. Investing in yourself to get better is so important. If you're working at an organization, two things. One, I think you should make yourself irreplaceable. That's really important. Then you have the leverage. You can't even fire me. I know everybody, every customer. I'm unfireable. Now you have some leverage, which I think is really important. And you should learn, network, and sponge as much, absorb, especially when you're young, as much as you can. Do everything. Learn everything. Gandhi said it best. He said, learn like you'll live forever, live like you'll die tomorrow. Oof. So you want to learn and keep getting better, in as many things as you can.
Do you have a particular way that you lead people? What do you think it is? Is it either you select these people who are going to be high performers, and so you have a selection bias? Or do you have a particular leadership style that you think enables other people to become something bigger?
I think that you have to put confidence in people. There are so many better. I honestly, Codie, I'm back of the pack entrepreneur. I know I really am. There's so many amazing entrepreneurs. I don't even put myself. That's not my strong suit. It's not.
Interesting.
It's not. I've had wins. I've had great partners. I've had good ideas. Right time, right place. A lot of things happened, but there's so many. I still go to so many entrepreneurs for advice, but I am good at giving people confidence and belief. And that's really important because if you have to believe in the end of your story.
I think people have beat up this idea quite a bit, but first principles thinking, obviously categorized or created by Peter Thiel, but then you talk about a lot to this day, this idea of getting back to base level. How do you explain that at a very simplistic level, first principles thinking?
Yeah, and Bridgewater, by the way, was all about this as well, which is a very interesting hedge fund, right? It's the biggest hedge fund in the world. But it's really important. You've seen this in lots of areas where you go back and you say, what are our fundamental assumptions? What are we doing here? Why? What is our firm the best at? Why is there an opportunity here? What are we gonna, what's our core capabilities, right? These are really philosophical questions as well, as how do you break down the frameworks for who you are? And then say, okay, given these are our core capabilities, what are the juxtaposed areas, what are the areas next to it that we can go into that are similar And it's a really good exercise to keep coming back to, because it reminds you of things. This is why building a deck is really good for an entrepreneur, even if it's a small business, is you want to put together, here's 10 pages on who I am, what I'm doing, what the goals are, why it's going to be successful. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs say, oh, well, I'm just so smart and fast, and why would I do this stupid thing that's for stupid people? It's not for me. And it's for everyone, because everyone needs to get back to the core of like exactly like what and why and who and how. And sometimes those principles, you'll notice, have actually changed in a way. Maybe you intuitively realize one of them's changed, but you don't really find it until you go back and actually write it down. So it's just such a helpful thing. And, as a founder, I really admire the founders, not just of companies, but, the founders of America as well. And the founders of America were really clear about their principles.
Yeah.
And we're very, very lucky about that. There's all sorts of debates. There's all sorts of writings from that time. I grew up reading something called the London Magazine, which is the founders of America and the people, writing things in Parliament and everything would write it and argue back and forth. Even as you have all these primary sources of what was going on, and it was the Enlightenment kind of just happened over the last 100 years, and it was really a time where people were really focused on principles in society and what's correct. And so it was a great intellectual breeding ground for founding something like America. But I find founders in general who are the best are similar to the American founders, like really debate these things and really come back to them, and that it kind of refreshes and renews what you're doing.
Yeah, it also seems like you have to repeat yourself very, very often as a founder, and so
you do, because you need to make sure people understand the vision of what's going on. I remember early on at Palantir, we'd walk around and talk to a bunch of the engineers helping me recruit, and what's the mission to you in your words? Why are you excited about it in your words? When you're talking to your smartest friends, and we're going to go over to Stanford or MIT or wherever else we're going to go and recruit, like tell me as if I'm one of them. Let's talk about it, let's practice. And it's helpful. You got to do that.
I think it comes from really how I was raised. I mean, on a farm, you are raised in that situation. You don't have any guarantees, and you figure it out, and you work hard until it's done. And I think just that tenacity really saw me through a lot. And, certainly building a career from Wall Street now into the cabinet, from rural America, I think that just really taught me to dig in, keep going, keep learning, and keep the curiosity about how things work, and keep asking questions, and never accept the first no.
Yeah, you seem like, when we were talking kind of behind the scenes, you're like, I like it. I want to be in there. I want to be like making a difference. And I was like, wasn't it scary to run for Senate? That sounds horrifying. You were like, no, like put me in, coach. So you got a little of that inner psychopath. I'm into that.
Yeah.
What about, so you owned a WNBA team, which seems incredibly hard in just every aspect, not as much funding, lower ticket sales, and then there was inner turmoil in the WNBA. What was the hardest moment for you running that business?
Well, I think the biggest decision came when my business partner and I, we were 50-50 owners, but before that, we were minority owners. And there came a point where the majority owner decided to sell. And we had to look at each other and say, do we want to step up and be 50-50 owners? And I was running a big part of our publicly traded company at the time, and I had to have confidence in the team that we brought on to really run that business day to day, and also the funding. I mean, it was, it's not an inexpensive endeavor to sink money into that every single year.
Was it public how much that was?
No, but it's a couple million. And it was, we'd hoped to be able to get it to break even. But to the point, back then, the bigger decision was to say, is this a go or no go? And I believe that when life opens a door for you, and to walk through it, and that life had opened a door for me as a professional sports team owner, and walking away at that time didn't seem like a good option. And I'm really glad we walked through it. We owned the team for a decade. And it was very grassroots. In fact, I was working with a reporter one time and pitching a story. I mean, I was, making sure that we got the visibility. I had this vision because of what I'd seen living in Chicago during the Bulls run in the 90s. And I thought, my goodness, I see what sports do for a community. They really bring it together. And I think Atlanta could be a great sports town. And so we invested on that basis to not have this as a hobby, but to make this a business and a great community contribution contribution. And we were so glad that we walked through that door and did that for a decade for our fans, for our community, to elevate the sport. And it turned out to be such a good, I learned so much being a sports team owner that applied to business. Because in business, sometimes you can kick the can on a problem. In sports, you can't do that.
Why? Everybody's just yelling at you all the time?
Well, because in sports, the scoreboard shows the results every single day. The ticket sales show the results every single day. The coaching shows the results. And so you have to make those decisions game time. And so I started doing that in business, running my businesses like a coach would run a team. And I became a lot more effective, decisive, and not afraid about what decisions were around the next corner. It just really emboldened me to make those decisions and keep going.
Where should a young builder start today?
Well, I mean, the first thing that, and I just talked to our team about it this morning in a staff meeting, reminding them yet again, one of our core values here is, if you help enough people, you don't have to worry about money. So too many times when we start something, we are enamored with our own idea, our own ability, and the idea is the thing rather than the customer. And what I want to do is I want the person that is not inside the building to be blessed, to be changed, to be served, to have their mind blown. The people inside the building all get their mind blown? Not so much. Not so much. You know, that doesn't do anything. What happens is when all those people out there all over the world, I get the opportunity to help one of them with their budget. I get the opportunity to help one of them with their marriage. I get to help one of them with their spiritual walk. I get to help one of them with their small business. When they, you know, and so we don't build anything for us. We build everything for them. And when you first start, that's not natural. That's paradoxical, because you're kind of into what you're doing, and you're like, oh, I'm kind of good at this, and this is kind of cool. And it was for me anyway. And so when I did the first cassette tapes or VHS tapes, you know, I was like, wow, look at that guy. He's funny and he's good. And it kind of started coming to me, no one cares except your mama and your wife.
And they also don't.
And they don't care that much. You know, so, you know, it's like, but that, I think that's a thing. Serve. And if you can find a way to make other people's life better and let them be the hero in the story, as my friend Donald Miller says. You don't have to be the hero, you can be the guide. And, you know, that kind of stuff, it just makes you have a good quality life, and you've got a good philosophical, spiritual underpinning to your business then that you can, okay, we're about service. And when you interact with an organization, a business that is about themselves, you feel the take rather than the give. And when you interact with a company that is all about service, you come away with your mind blown, because they're fairly rare.
How did you get comfortable with risk, or how do you think about risk, especially for young people who maybe haven't had a chance to take it yet? And would you tell them to go take active risk?
Well, first of all, the younger you are, the easier it is to take risk, right? And use that to your advantage. I started my first company when I was 17. And I was in college, I was just entering college. And I think I had this mindset that, like, okay, like, I have this thing, college, right? And, like, I could do that well. And as long as I'm doing that well, my parents will be okay. So let me go take as much risk as I can take outside of school. And let me go try different things. And I didn't have kids. I didn't have to, I was working and paying some of my own bills at the time, but I had, my parents were supporting me. And I used that as an excuse to take more risk. And I think the older you get, the harder it is to take risk. And risk is like a muscle, right? It's like the younger you try new things, and the earlier you sort of train your mindset to know that like, I'm going to do something, and if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, that's still okay too, because I'm going to learn from that, and I'm going to leverage that into the next thing.
How do you think about speed and moving fast? And how do you know if you're moving fast enough on the decisions you want to make in life?
Well, first I want to say, not a dream crusher. I just want to hold you accountable to your best self, right? Like you definitely had all the ingredients as somebody I would want to bet on. And you're your dreams, your ideas were much bigger than that. You weren't thinking bigger. And, you know, I told you at the time, I said, the money is easy. It's having an idea that you can execute on. There's tons of money. There's tons of rich guys that don't want to work. They just want to invest in somebody and make a good return. The question is, how do we find these executors? And when we find them, they dump cash into them and they go golfing or flying or doing whatever they want to do. And so I wanted you to think big because it wouldn't be hard for you to raise money, right? Like after you went around, you were like trying to cram me down because these other guys want to come in and this guy want to come in. I'm like, no, that guy can't get in, right?
That didn't happen.
What happened if you thought about that idea 3 years ago? What if you executed on that, you know, a little bit faster? What if you, you know, thought a little bit bigger and moved a little bit faster? Where would you be now? How big would this conference be? How many people would be knocking down your door to figure out how you did it? And so, you know, we're human beings, we're not institutions, we don't live that long. And there's periods in our life, and I just think that life in itself is urgent and important, and your dreams are important. And that advantage of action, you know, speed implies action. You're not just speed running around in a circle, you're moving towards your dreams. And so it's almost taking yourself serious and your dreams seriously by executing. What else should you be doing, right, according to your values? And so I think it's very important. And it's, you know, my willingness to take risk and my ability or my willingness to move quickly towards my goals are the only advantages I have.
I was just looking, and it looks like more than 50% of you are not subscribed to the Big Deal podcast. When you subscribe, first of all, it means we get to bring you bigger and better guests. It's also the #1 way you can support this podcast. If you liked it today, subscribe on whatever channel that you're listening to. And I want to tell you something firsthand. You become whatever you allow into your attention span. And what I hope you feel from us every single day is that I value your attention and your time more than anything else. I promise to only bring you things that are going to make you more money. They're going to make you more motivated to make your life better. So give me a little solid here. Subscribe to the channel. This is how we grow. Also leave me a review on what you want better and who you want on. I promise you we'll do it. Hey, if you're a business owner right now and you like the things you were hearing on this podcast, I have something that I haven't talked about publicly before that's just for you. It's called our SMB Boardroom. This is for small business owners who want to grow. It is for business owners who are on their way to making at least 7 figures a year. If this is you, hit the link down below. Talk to our team. This is the place that can be your late night emergency call for the things that go bump in the night in your business. If right now you feel like you're plateauing or you feel like you don't know how to handle your growth, we got you. So click the link below, SMB Boardroom. We just built it for you builders. Kind of obsessed with it. And I think if you are a builder, there's no place you're going to want to be except here. Hey guys, if you've ever thought about buying a business, we've built what I think is the best acquisitions and business buying community and education curriculum in the world. If you've ever thought about wanting to buy or own a business, or if you want to add more businesses to the mix, it's called the Contrarian Community. And what this is the goal is we give you the 3 things that the best business buyers use: your own advisory team, your own investment committee, and a deal team. We get together each week to review deals live and beat up all the deals that you're currently looking at while you simultaneously learn the best way possible, which is called modeling, by seeing other people put together deals. This is how private equity buys businesses. This is how investment teams work. And we're stealing the methods from Wall Street and giving them to you. If this is interesting to you, go to click the link and you can actually talk to my team direct about if this is a fit or not. We can help guide you. The link is in the show description.
how do I build more energy? How do I get more money? That's not the first question.
If you've ever felt like your attention is scattered, like your energy is depleted, like you're reacting to your life instead of creating it intentionally, this episode is going to be a game changer for you and me. Today's guest is Dandapani, a Hindu priest, entrepreneur, and former monk who left a career in engineering to spend a decade in a monastery. Now he teaches global leaders and some of the biggest athletes in the world how to use your mind to change your life.
Reason shouldn't end where spirituality begins.
If you want practical tools to make sure that the things you want in life you can create, then you should listen closely. What's the most powerful thing you've ever seen happen from someone who truly obsesses on focus? Welcome back to the Big Deal podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez. We are growing like crazy, you guys, and we realized over the past few weeks that most of you don't actually subscribe to the show, which is crazy. So if you could do me a favor and double check that you're subscribed, that would mean so much to me. I've been obsessed with making this show something that makes your life better, and this helps us do exactly that. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. All right, let's jump in. What is the 3 stripes?
It's monk Wi-Fi. Good signal to God. 3 lines, 1 line, not so good.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. So in Hinduism, there are 4 sects, and I belong to the oldest one.
Okay.
And we wear ash representing the 3 lines. The first line represents ego. So a lot of times in spirituality, they say you should not have an ego. Yeah. In the philosophy we subscribe to, we believe everyone has an ego, and the goal is to cultivate a positive ego. So someone who's kind, who's compassionate, who has empathy, industrious, charitable. So that's the first one. It's not get rid of ego, but cultivate a positive ego. And the second one has to do with karma, which is the law of cause and effect, that every thought, word, and deed has a repercussion. So that's 50% of karma. And if you can control your thoughts, your words, your actions, you can control a lot of the outcomes. The second half of karma is your reactions. So if you came up to me and said, Dandapani, your shawl is ugly, I could choose to pinch you or say, what a great opportunity to go shopping. And how I respond also determines my outcome. So by controlling how we act and react, we determine so much of our outcomes in life. And then the third one is delusion, meaning that quite often in life, we get distracted with the things and people that are unaligned with our priorities. So always bringing our focus back to who and what matters. Understanding that life is finite and, it's easy to get distracted with things.
It is. Is it ever hard to be a spiritual person, especially with like such an external representation of it? The marks, the shawl, the beads, in a world where that's not quote unquote normal? Do you ever get self-conscious?
No, because I don't wear this because it's cool. I wear this because I love my culture. I love my tradition. I love my faith. And this is a traditional outfit of a Hindu priest and also Hindu monastic. So it's very hard to tell the difference between monks and priests because they're pretty much dressed the same. But I'm very proud of my culture. So it's hard for people sometimes looking at me and they don't know how to respond.
Interesting.
And they see all this and they go like, oh.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? And for some people, it makes them extremely uncomfortable, and others are very curious and want to know more.
It's one of the things that I liked when I first started following your teachings and got on your app, which I love.
Thank you.
Yeah. I really liked following you because you're of the world as well as, of a spiritual practice. Yeah. And I would aspire to meditate and to do all the things that I read in books from spiritual leaders. But then I'd go back and a company would be losing money and somebody would have stolen from me and fraud would have happened. And it just felt so far away from a monastery. And yet you have kind of chosen to come out and build businesses. Not normal for monks or, do you even call yourself a monk?
No, so I was an ordained Hindu monk, celibate Hindu monk in a cloistered monastery. And then when my vows expired after 10 years, I left the monastery. So now I'm a priest. And in Hinduism, priests are considered householders. So we can get married, have a family, work in McDonald's or be an entrepreneur. And I chose to be an entrepreneur. So this is a traditional way of a Hindu priest. And, now I run my own business and work with entrepreneurs and athletes and
Yeah, but I love that because you bring some of these ideas into everyday life and then you get to practice it too. You know, you have, I'm sure, have many moments where an app costs a ton of money to build and then all of a sudden it's not working and then your users hate you. But you're like, wait, I thought I was just, you know, one with God. Like, what happened, right?
All of those and a lot more. And I think, you know, Cody, people see the dress and their first perception is that, you know, he lived as a monk, so he's got it all figured out, his focus, his whole day is Zen. BS. I have the same chaos that every entrepreneur has and all the highs and lows and the same struggles that anyone that has a family has. Why would it be different for me? I would say the only difference would be that I was given a set of tools in the monastery and taught how to use those tools and apply it in my life. But that doesn't mean that my life is free of chaos. I have the choice every day to choose whether I want to apply those tools or not. And if I don't apply those tools, then I reap the repercussions. If I apply the tools, then I handle my challenges better.
Yeah, you have an incredible analogy about awareness in the mind, where awareness is a glowing orb and the mind is vast as space. Can you explain that analogy a bit?
I would say of all the things I learned from my guru, that was the most profound thing about the mind. He looked at the mind as a vast space with many different areas. So if you think one area of the mind is happy, joy, sad, food, sex, photography, money, you know, different areas of the mind, and awareness as a glowing ball of light, an orb, and you are pure awareness. You're traveling to different areas of the mind, and wherever awareness goes in the mind, it lights up that area and you become conscious of it. So if awareness goes to the anger area of the mind, it lights up that area and you all of a sudden go, oh, I'm angry. But what you should be saying is, I'm in a place in the mind called anger. I chose to be here. As easily I can remove myself from here and move to another area of the mind. And I give the analogy of a mansion. So imagine a mansion with 100 rooms, and every room is a different state of mind or area of the mind. So one room is anger, one room's happiness, one room's jealousy. I walk in the mansion, I'm pure awareness. I climb up the stairs, walk down the hallway, I open the door, I go into the angry room, and I close the door behind me. And I am in rage. I come out of the room, I walk down the hallway, I open another room, I enter that room, I'm in the room of happiness. And once you realize that you're not the mind, rather your awareness moving within the mind, now you have a choice every day to either choose where you want to go or allow your environment, the people and things around you, to dictate where you want to go. So if you said to me my shawl was ugly, I could let you take my ball of light to an angry area of the mind and I go like, Cody, how could you say that to me? Or I could go like, I should go shopping, you know? Yeah. Monkshalls.com. See what they have.
I think your shawl's lovely, for the record.
Thank you.
We're actually kind of matching.
Yeah,
maybe I did that
nice.
subconsciously.
I like it. So that's the key, right? The key is to control awareness. And every time throughout the whole day, regardless of what's going on in your family, your business, your awareness is perpetually moving in your mind. And if you can control where it goes, you can control how you react and respond to a situation. For me, the way I practice is I look at my whole day as my gym, my mental gym. When I'm talking to an employee who's not doing something I told them to do, or something's going on with the business, or whatever it is, every moment I have the choice to choose where my awareness goes. And if someone does something to take my awareness to a different area of the mind, then I go, okay, my ball of light's going to an area of the mind I don't want it to go. I'm going to grab it with my willpower and bring it back here, and I'm going to stay here and choose not to go there. You know, I flew here yesterday, and it's a classic example. My flight got delayed, and everyone's in the plane, was sitting for an hour, and you could see people's awareness going to the frustrated area of the mind. You know, like, what's going on? Why are we still sitting here? And I saw my ball of light wanting to go there, and I had to just bring it back and go, like, I don't need to go there. I can choose to be somewhere else.
One of the other things you talk about that I love is willpower.
Yeah.
And there's many examples from your work that I like, but can you talk about even the way you define willpower and how important it is? It's not something that I hear a lot of spiritual people talk about. And so can you talk a little bit about if somebody wants to increase their willpower, what do they do and how do you define it?
So I would define willpower as mental muscle. If I could draw biceps around my mind, that would be my willpower. You know, a very simplified definition of it. So every time my ball of light drifted away, I would use these biceps, grab that ball of light and drag it back here and say, don't go there, right? And you can go there. And it's not about avoiding that place. It's choosing when I want to engage with that situation. So, for example, if I had a fight with Joe about something, an argument with Joe, if I didn't control my ball of light, my awareness would perpetually be going to that every 2 minutes, like, can't believe he said that. I keep typing and I'm like, oh, he's such an idiot. Keep typing. And those are called mental arguments, and people have mental arguments in their head all day long. But when you develop willpower, every time that ball of light drifts there, you just grab it and bring it back. And there are 3 ways to develop willpower. Finish what you begin, do a little bit more than you think you can, and do it a little bit better than you think you can. And for me, the easiest way to bring practices into our life, a lot of spiritual people will tell you, wake up in the morning, do yoga, breathe, do your cold plunge and this and that. It's hard when you have a family, when you have a business. But the way I look at it is, if you look at your day and you ask yourself, what are the non-negotiable reoccurring events in your day? Every day I sleep. It's non-negotiable and it reoccurs. So how can I take the practice and insert it into that event? So every night before I go to sleep, I floss, I brush my teeth, put my pajamas on, I go to bed. When I wake up, I make the bed in the morning. I finish what I begin. I make the bed a little bit better than I think I can. I do a little bit more than I think I can. Maybe I double fold the comforters, like do the 4 seasons, or, fluff the pillows. And that is not about making the bed. It's about developing willpower so that I can control where my ball of light goes in my mind.
I loved when you talked about the dishes, because the dishes I hate to do. I hate to do the dishes. I hate them categorically. And I think when I first started listening to you a few years ago, you had told the same story about if you're going to do the dishes, I want you to start it and finish it. Yeah. We don't do it halfway. And then how could you do it a little bit better? Clean the crystal, put put it away when you're done. And what's fascinating is in our companies now, it sort of has imbued this idea of how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yes.
And that we are the type of people here who start something and finish it well, and we're no better than the janitor. We clean up our own mess.
Absolutely.
And so now it's a big pet peeve, and everybody here knows it, whenever I see dishes in the sink. It's like, we don't do that here. We're not that type of person. Yeah. And that sort of like ripples.
Yes.
And so I loved that teaching from you, so small, everybody can do it, and yet kind of profound.
It is. And, like my daughter, we live in Costa Rica, and, we don't wear our shoes in our house. So when we come back, we take our flip-flops off and leave it outside. And my daughter used to just, she's 6 and she kicks it to the side. And, I've taught her, like, okay, let's finish the process of going out. When we take our flip-flops off, let's just arrange it nicely before we go in. That's going to take an extra 3 seconds. But now it becomes part of a ritual. And the goal really at the end of the day, Cody, it's like, how do we take the key tools that we have in our life that are aligned with what we want to create and integrate them into the rituals that exist in our life? Because if I told you to wake up tomorrow morning and meditate and do yoga and breathe, you're going to go like, I don't have time for this, right? But every day you have a cup of coffee. Every day you sit in front of your computer. Every day you talk to somebody. What if you brought those tools into your daily rituals, those mundane little things? Now your whole day becomes a practice. And by the time you go to bed, you've been practicing for 10 hours, developing willpower, practicing focus, and all these other things, managing your energy. And that's a much better approach than to wake up in the morning, meditate for half an hour, and then spend the remaining 15 hours running around like a head-cut chicken, and thinking, okay, I did my morning meditation, I had my matcha, or whatever you had to drink, and then the rest of the day you just go crazy. That doesn't help.
That was such a good point. I was at this is a little judgy, which I shouldn't, but I was sitting at a coffee shop the other day, and I was watching these 2 people who had obviously come back from Burning Man. Yeah. And, and they were like well-dressed, but still had their dusty boots on. And so I was kind of chuckling about that. And then I'm judgy. Yeah. And so anyway, but what was so funny is they blessed their meal, which I thought was really nice, but it was like a prolonged blessing, it was like, and we're feeling it and we're feeling it. So I'm sitting there going, well, this is different. And then.
Were you with them?
No, I was being a voyeur from another table.
Yes, I like it.
And then, and they were talking really broadly about spirituality. Oh, the universe and everything's connected and it's all love and we have to bless our food. And then the door swings open and the woman's chair is like a little close to the door. So the door hits her and she's like, watch what you're doing. What's going on? Like that. And so I just had this whole thing happen here of watching this moment of you could bless the thing, you could meditate in the morning, but then you lose your practice.
Yeah.
And so like, how could you bring it throughout the day, I think is really beautiful. Not just when you're at a peak event like Burning Man or even church on Sunday.
Yeah. I remember when I first moved to New York, I knew a yoga teacher there, and she said, "Oh, come to my class." So I said, "Okay." She said, "Come to my apartment, and then we'll walk over together." And I went to her apartment, and she was running around finding her stuff. Where's my keys? I can't find my keys. Put her shoes on. Her dog. It was just chaos. And she's like walking really fast down the sidewalk with me, getting to the yoga studio. She gets in there. She sits there, puts her mat, and then she sits in front. She's teaching the class. And all of a sudden, she turned into this Zen person, And I went like, but all that minutes prior was chaos. So for me, it's not about the 10 minutes in the morning or the 20 minutes. It's like, how do you bring this into your daily life?
Yeah.
And people can do the food blessing and can look great in a yoga class for 10 minutes or an hour. What's the remaining 23 hours, huh? And the way I look at it, Codie, is an analogy. You probably heard of Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know anything about this man. I know he's from Jamaica. He won gold medals, fastest man on earth. His 100 meters is 9.56 seconds or something. I would assume that he trains every day when he was running, does weights, eats properly, stretches. His whole day is preparing him from 9.56 seconds, not 9.56 seconds preparing him for the whole day. And most spiritual people will look at their life. If I meditate for 10 minutes in the morning, I journal, that's going to set me up for the day. The way my guru trained me was the complete opposite. Your whole day is the practice that prepares you for the morning meditation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So don't look at the morning practice as the most important thing, but rather look at integrating the practice throughout the whole day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about focus because you are, very big on that as well. What have you seen? Maybe we start by defining it again, because I know you like to do that. And then I think that's smart. We do it in business. I never think about it in this spiritual practice.
It just creates a shared vocabulary and understanding, right? And then when we say the word focus, everybody in the room knows what it means.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's today we were talking about it in work in a different way. And I was saying, well, when somebody goes above and beyond and does extra work, we want to recognize them. And then I paused and was like, wait, I should define above and beyond.
Yes.
Because
it means different things to different people.
Right. And I don't just want somebody working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on stuff that doesn't matter. And then that's above and beyond. And so then we have to define it. Well, above and beyond in this instance means something that drives meaningful revenue or views, let's say, on a video. And if it doesn't do those two things, it's actually not meaningful work. It could just be busy work. So I'd love you to define focus. And then also tell me, what's the most powerful thing you've ever seen happen from someone who truly obsesses on focus?
Mm. So I would define focus, going back to awareness and the mind and the ball of light. Focus is my ability to keep my awareness on you without it wavering. Mm-hmm. So if I'm talking to you and my ball of light drifts away, I'm getting distracted. If I can keep my ball of light, my awareness on you the entire time, I'm in a state of focus. Mm. So most people are always physically present. We're physically present with each other, but mentally absent. Because how many times have you been in a conversation with someone, talking to them, and they go, huh? And they're completely checked out. Their awareness is somewhere else, but they're looking at you going, right? And you just go like, and then people ask, where are you? The right answer is, I'm right in front of you. But the proper question is, where's your awareness? Mm. They go, oh, honey, it left the moment you started talking, because that's what happens. And how do you know? My guru had this beautiful saying, where awareness goes, energy flows. So if my awareness is on you, my energy is flowing towards you, you feel my energy. Now, if I ask you a question and you respond, and I start listening to the first few words, and then my awareness drifts away and go like, I wonder what I should have for lunch today. But I'm looking at you and nodding, and my awareness goes somewhere else. That's where my energy is flowing. Mm. You no longer feel my energy, and you go, where are you? Mm. So that's just to clarify what focus means. The greatest thing I would probably see coming out of focus, is from my guru. He had an amazing control over his ball of light in his mind. If you look at the mind in a simplified way, Codie, you could look at it as a 3-story building. The bottom floor is the conscious mind, the external mind, where it's tied to our 5 senses, and it's the world we live in, phone calls and emails and everything. The second floor is the subconscious. It's the storehouse of memory, information, habit patterns. And then the third floor is what my guru would refer to as the superconscious mind. It's the source of intuition, creativity, higher spiritual minded things. Only through a focused state can you take your ball of light from the first floor through the second floor to the third floor. And once you go to the third floor, you need to have so much willpower to hold that ball of light there in order to experience that state of mind. So imagine if I picked up a 1,000-page book and I just flipped through the pages, I would read nothing, right? But if I took a 1,000-page book, I opened it up and I held my gaze on one page and went through every sentence, I would be able to read it. So a lot of people may be able to go into the superconscious area of the mind, this deeply spiritual, intuitive area, so briefly, and it feels wonderful, and they come out of it. But the key is to be able to go in there, remain in a state of unwavering focus long enough that you can actually experience it in a profound way. Because if not, all you're doing is just fanning through the pages of a book and you never read anything. The only way I can get that experience is if I stay on the page and read every single word slowly. So I would say that would be the greatest experience of focus, is the ability to take awareness, go to that superconscious area of the mind, stay there for an extended period of time, and truly experience your highest state of mind.
What does it feel like when you go there? Is that when you get lost in something that you're doing that you love? How would somebody know if they've done that?
It's not a binary experience. I will look at it as layers. So I can go out and feel the sun's rays on me. But if I went 1,000 miles closer towards the sun, I probably maybe feel a little warmer. I'm assuming, I don't know anything about this. Or if you go 10,000 more miles, I'd feel more of the sun. The superconscious is that way as well. It's layered. If you enter the fringes of the superconscious area of the mind, the fringes of the third floor, you feel a sense of, the first sign of the awakening of that superconscious is observation. People become more observant. That's when someone becomes more observant, you know they're starting to go into the superconscious area of the mind. That's the first sign of the awakening of the superconscious. Another sign is good timing. I knew when I lived in New York for 11 years, I could tell if my awareness was in the third floor or not by how long I waited for the subway. My wife would say to me, "You have good timing." And she always get the subway with me. Because if I walked up the stairs, got on the platform, if I waited longer than 15 seconds, I was not in the superconscious area of the mind. And I would be at home in my apartment working, and my intuition would say, "Leave now to get ready for your meeting." And I'll say, "Just one more email." Then I'm out of sync. But if I was obedient to that, I would have good timing. So those are two things: observation, good timing. And as you go deeper and deeper, Cody, you experience the very essence of who you are, which is a soul that is pure energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed, has always existed. You start to tap into a part of you that you realize, okay, I am energy. Everything is made up of energy. Energy can never be created, which means I've always existed. Energy can be transformed from one thing to another, law of thermodynamics. So I'm transforming, evolving, but in essence, I'm pure energy. And as you start to go into that, you feel a great sense of love and compassion and peace. But it's not a one-time experience. Can you have one success in business and say you're a successful entrepreneur? No. You have to do it over and over again. So the key is to repeatedly have awareness go into the superconscious mind every day till that permeates your entire being, and that becomes your default of who you are. Same way you would see a seasoned entrepreneur who's gone through all the highs and lows, and he or she at that point knows how to ride this out. You know, they can handle difficult times because they know what to do. You know, it's 30 years, 40 years of this. And the mystic is no different as well. He or she has gone into the superconscious so much that it's become a part of their being now.
Do you notice a difference about people who are very worldly successful? Do they carry themselves differently? Have they done this practice a different way? Is there anything that you've noticed from some of the most influential people you've ever worked with, spoken with?
I would say two things. They have a lot of clarity of what they want and a tremendous amount of desire to get it. I had the good fortune of working with one of the top soccer players in the world for 3 years, for 3 seasons. And he knew crystal clear in his mind what he wanted to achieve. And the desire he had for it was unparalleled. I'd seen monks with it, and he really, really wanted it. So the combination of knowing what you want and having that intense desire for it helps you to get there. So most people don't really know what they want and then don't really have a desire for it. They try and then they give up. But you have to want it more than life itself. When I met my guru before I joined the monastery, I told him what I wanted in life, which was enlightenment. And he asked me, what are you willing to do for it? And I was in college then. I said, I'm willing to give up my life. And I joined his monastery and, in my early 20s. And I didn't speak to my family again, my friends, had 3 meals a day and didn't talk to relatives, didn't do all the things that everybody in the world does. Because I was willing to give up everything in my life to pursue this. And that's what I see in some of the most successful entrepreneurs and athletes. They want that and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get it.
How long did you give up everything for when you were in the monastery?
10 years.
So you didn't speak to your family for 10 years?
In the early years, you got to talk to them twice a year, like on a phone call. So no emails, no letters. You get like a 30-minute call and call your mom and dad.
So at one point you're in school. You have a defined career path too. Were you going to be an engineer? What was that?
I did electrical engineering.
Yeah. So you're an electrical engineering college student. I mean, I remember what I was like in college. Not that was not a direction I could have ever imagined.
No,
What was the moment that you were like, I'm going to go dedicate 10 years of my life to enlightenment?
I wanted to be a monk since I was 4 or 5 years old. And I was looking for a teacher that could teach me. And I met many wonderful monks and gurus along the way. But none of them, they all said inspiring things, but none of it I felt was practical and relevant to my life. They talked about big ideas and big concepts, and they talk about the mind and use words I couldn't wrap my head around. It wasn't until I met my guru that I found, for the first time ever, a monk that could articulate the goal for me, the path to the goal, the spiritual goal, the philosophy, to ensure you're actually making progress. What are your KPIs on the spiritual path, right? Because if you don't have that, I remember him saying to me one day, Dandapani, if you meditate every day and after 6 months you're still a jerk, you're probably doing the wrong practice. You're not making progress, right? So most people don't review their progress to see if there's any change. He made me monitor and measure my spiritual unfoldment to know that I'm making traction down the path, and share with me tools that I could integrate in my life rather than just high-minded philosophies and concepts that sound so wonderful, but in real life weren't relevant.
So you leave, how old are you?
I was 23 and a half, 24.
Okay. So you leave and you go move where?
To Kauai in Hawaii, yeah.
And you live in a monastery for 10 years?
Traditional cloistered monastery as a celibate monk under vows.
What does cloistered mean?
Means it's closed off that guests could only come in to visit, like between 9 and 12 in the morning, and then the gates closed, and only monks under vows live within it. So there's a lot of modern day play pretend monasteries nowadays where you can come and go whenever you want and go for the weekend and say, I lived as a monk for a weekend. Like, okay. But this is like the real deal. You go and you take vows and you follow a traditional path that's, philosophy that's over thousands of years old.
And what would a day look like?
We woke up early. I usually wake up around between 4 and 4:15 in the morning. And, we'd have meditation in the morning with 10 rituals, traditional Hindu rituals. We'd had to exercise half an hour a day. We only had 3 meals a day, so breakfast, lunch, dinner, no snacking in between. And the monastery was divided into 5 groups. So one group of monks took care of desktop publishing. We put all our content in books and online, so monks had to learn, Adobe InDesign and Photoshop and edit movies and Final Cut Pro and all that kind of stuff. Another group of monks took care of the endowments. So they did all the financial stuff. My guru he had a beautiful relationship with money. And I really loved that about him because when I was growing up, people would say to me, if you want to be spiritual, then you shouldn't pursue money. Money's bad. Money is the root of all evil. Whereas he looked at money as a beautiful thing that we could spread around like fertilizer and make things grow. Is what he said. So the monks were divided into different groups, and and then our day ended at 9 o'clock at night, and we went to bed.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know how I'm always saying stop waiting, start owning? Most people never even get to the starting line because they're drowning in the setup. Websites, logos, emails, social posts. It's like they're building a business in their heads instead of the real world. That's where GoDaddy Arrow comes in. And let me tell you, total game changer. You just punch in a few prompts and bam, you've got a website, a logo, even your first marketing posts. It's like a whole tech team in your back pocket, minus the payroll. What used to take weeks, now it's minutes. And that means you can skip the busy work and get straight to the good stuff, actually growing your business. So if you got an idea collecting dust, stop overthinking it. Go make it real. Check out GoDaddy Arrow at the link below and start building today. No excuses. You guys, I'm doing something absolutely wild. I am throwing the biggest event on business ownership we've ever thrown. And every single person that comes will get something worth $1,177, which is actually crazy. And I'm not talking about like courses or online videos that I put a face price tag on. I mean, this is real value, really priced at that you get from attending this event. So if you are into business, you're going to want to be there, and everybody will leave with a pack of goodies. Just call me Santa. See you at msm.live. You said, you had this saying that I loved, which you kind of hit on a little bit. You've said, problems are meant to be resolved as quickly as possible and not to be carried on gruelingly through life.
Yeah.
Can you talk about this?
Yeah. Going back to the 3 states of mind, if you and I had an argument and we don't resolve it, we have it now in the conscious mind. And once we walk away, that problem gets registered in the subconscious, which is the second floor. We talked about the second floor. The more problems we have unresolved in the second floor, the more cluttered the second floor becomes. The superconscious intuition lives in the third floor. For intuition to go to the conscious mind on the first floor where we can cognize it, it needs to go through the second floor. And if the second floor is cluttered, intuition can't come through. So most people don't like to resolve problems because it involves facing it, accepting it, owning it, having a conversation about it, resolving it, and it's painful and uncomfortable. So as monks, our goal is to live more intuitively rather than intellectually, because our intuition never ever guides us wrong. And the more cluttered the second floor is with unresolved things from our past, and it's harder for intuition to come through. A simple analogy would be this. Imagine the sun as the third floor, the superconscious mind, the sky as the subconscious, and the ground, the earth, as the conscious mind. In order for the sun's rays to hit the ground, it needs to go through the sky. If the sky is really cloudy, filled with unresolved clouds, rays of light don't get through. If it's a clear sky, you get this beautiful sun rays. So the sky would be the subconscious mind. When it's filled with clouds and the rays of light coming from the superconscious mind never gets through. So the idea of resolving things as quickly as possible, especially before you go to bed at night with a spouse, is a great. The monks had that practice. So if monks had arguments, which my guru was totally fine with monks arguing with each other, the only rule in the monastery was that you had to go resolve it before you went to bed at night.
So do you think you should fight when you're angry with someone?
I think if it's with a partner, a spouse, or even a business partner, relation, whatever it is, it's fine as long as you set up the guideline that we can have a heated argument, walk away, have a few hours by ourselves to calm down, but we will get together before the day ends and sit down and resolve this. So in the monastery, there was a big mango tree with some seats under it. And that's where we would go and resolve the problems. When you see 2 monks sitting under the mango tree, they're resolving a problem. So, if you had that rule, it's normal to have misunderstandings, even if you're a spiritual person. So as long as you plan to resolve it, then you're not taking it to bed with you.
How do you make the clouds move? How do you unclutter the second floor? You resolve things in the day, but what about all the historical stuff that's already up there? What is the practice to see the sun again?
You cannot see what's in the second floor if you cannot focus. Because if I can't sit down quietly in a chair, not meditating, in a state of self-reflection, just looking inside of me, if I start to do this and after 5 seconds I go, what should I have for lunch? Is my phone ringing? Should I answer that? Oh, I had a text come in. Maybe he's trying to reach me. He was trying to reach me all day. I should really get back to him. And that's the conversation most people have. But if I can focus, I can hold my awareness on my second floor long enough to see everything in my mind. That's the first step, focus. Focus allows you to see what's in there. The second step is having extreme levels of self-empathy and compassion, looking at yourself as a product of evolution. So the way I look at myself is I look at myself as a building under construction. If you've ever been to a construction site, you see rebar and concrete and broken glass, and you never complain because you go like, well, they're still building. There's shit lying everywhere, right? But if you go to Tiffany's and you see a broken glass, there'd be 5 people around it and say, oh, we're cleaning this up. Don't come here. There's broken glass. So when I look at myself and I see the mess in my second floor and the good parts, I go, this is me. I am a product of evolution. I am a building under construction. I'm not done yet. There's still work being done. And I can accept that. I can own that. Now it takes all that pressure off me to be something that I'm not. I can accept myself for who I am and where I am in my evolution. Now I identify what's the biggest thing in my subconscious that I want to resolve, because the biggest thing that basically is influencing me in a way that's unaligning me from my purpose. So the willpower, bring it into your daily life. Finish what you begin. The coffee cups, the shoes, clean your desk before you go home at night, put everything away. The focus, every time you speak with someone, give them your undivided attention. Keep your ball of light on them. It drifts away, bring it back. It drifts away, bring it back. And if you just practice this all day long, you become good at it. Now you have willpower and you have focus. You can start to reflect and identify what's inside of you that you need to adjust. And if we don't do the work on ourselves, we'll never be the person we need to be to achieve what we want to be, because we don't have those skills to match the goals we have.
Yeah, I really like that.
I am the biggest obstacle in my life.
Me too.
To my business, my relationships, in everything I do. So I don't worry so much about fixing a lot of the external things. I need to fix me. And the more I fix me, the better I am at every part of my life.
Does that work for everybody if they focus on willpower, energy, and focus?
Absolutely, yes. Because there are standard. It's like if everybody in this room went to the gym and lifted weights, we'd all start to get muscle. It doesn't matter who the person is or what gender they are, they'd all start to get weights. Start to build muscle, right? So when you start to do these things, you'll start to see you become more observant. Well, the first thing you do is you start to see more of your stuff inside of you. And that's when people stop doing the work, because it makes them so uncomfortable that they go, this is too ugly. And one of the byproducts of actually meditating is seeing what's in your subconscious. Because if I stay still, I close my eyes, I don't move, I regulate my breath, my conscious mind starts to get shut down, the first floor. Now my second floor becomes the dominant floor. And now I see what's in my subconscious. I remember the first year in the monastery, we'd meditate together, the monks, for an hour. And if I had a really good meditation, I knew the rest of my day is crappy. Because all the stuff in my second floor was being shown to me, or I started to see. And then the rest of the day, I go, I'm a terrible human being. I was a really bad monk,
Wow.
So most people think when you meditate, it's bliss. But in order to get to the third floor where the bliss is, you have to go through the second floor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it does make sense. You go to the gym, you work out, you're going to be sore afterwards if you did it right.
Yes.
If you pushed yourself.
Another example, just to make this clearer, if you've ever been to a bar and seen someone who's drunk, when someone gets drunk, they're shutting down the conscious mind. The conscious mind gets dull, the first floor. The second floor becomes dominant. Now they start saying things that they were thinking, oh, your sweater looks ugly. I was like, I didn't mean to say that, right?
Yeah.
So that's a similar thing. So meditation and getting drunk are a little bit similar, and shutting down the first floor, and then the second floor becomes dominant. And you start to see what's in people's mind. And that's why when you're having drinks with people at a dinner party or something, and someone's had 3 or 4 drinks, you start to tell very quickly what's on their mind. Because there's no filter, and they just start saying things. And you go like, oh, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, one of my favorite mentors in business always said he won't do a deal with somebody until he's had a few cocktails with them.
Exactly, yes. In traditional monasteries, in certain monasteries, monks would drink. They would sit around a table on the ground, and the guru would pour a little bit of like mead, honey mead for everyone, and they'd take a drink. And after 2, 3 drinks, the monks are going like, this place of food is terrible. Like, oh, that's good to know. Whereas they normally wouldn't say it, having not had a couple of drinks.
Yeah,
it's a great way to tell what's in someone's mind.
I want to talk a little bit about energy.
Yeah.
You've talked about treat energy the same way you treat money.
Yes.
It's a finite resource that needs to be managed wisely and invested. Can you expand on how someone can manage their energy and invest it properly?
So the simple way to manage energy, I would say, take every principle you know on finance, on how you manage money, and apply it to energy. Create a budget. Do we evaluate do you have investments?
Yeah.
How often do you evaluate your investments?
Probably once a month.
Once a month, right? And after a few months or a couple of years, you find an investment is doing really badly, and would you stay, or you may pull out your money and put it somewhere else potentially?
Sure.
Yeah. When was the last time we evaluated the people in our lives that we give energy to? We don't even do it once a year. Every year around November, December, I have a list of all the people I'm actively involved with, and I assign statuses to them and how much energy I'm giving. Because I have a finite amount of energy. Then I reallocate energy. So if Steve has been so amazing to me this year, I want to give him more energy. Now, energy cannot be created. I can't create more energy, but energy can be transferred from one thing to another, law of thermodynamics. So I go like, I'm going to take money out of Julie and energy out of Julie and move it to Steve. So Julie gets less energy. What does that translate to in real life? Next year, I'll spend less time with Julie, more time and energy with Steve. But if you don't have an evaluation process like you do for your investments, you probably have a set of practices on how you're evaluating, whether it's doing well, not, but checks and balances. You just all day, all month, all year long, just spend your energy.
I've never thought about it that way.
And you hemorrhage it.
Right. And I think most of us are conditioned to think about the energy that we're giving people based on the amount of time we have available.
Yes.
My calendar appears empty on Thursday, so I guess I have time to do this.
Yes.
Because that is the question that people ask, right? Do you have time to do X this week?
Yeah.
Can you do X? As opposed to what you really should be thinking is, do I want to?
Yeah.
And should I, based on
how much energy I have?
Yeah.
And can I tell you the difference between time management and energy management? So if time management, I say, very simplified, I sleep 8 hours, I work 8 hours, I'm spending 1 hour with my family having a meal. If I sat at the dinner table with my family for 1 hour, I could check the time management box and say, I did it. My question is, when you're at the table for 1 hour, you're physically present, where's your awareness? So if your family's eating and you're there with them and your kid's telling you something about school or whatever, your wife or husband's telling you something, but your ball of light is somewhere else, that's where your energy is flowing. It's not flowing to them. So time management wise, you can check the box and say, yes, I sat with my family for 60 minutes. But energy management, you actually gave your family only a tiny bit of energy because the rest of the time you were distracted and your energy was going somewhere else instead of going to them. So for me, it's not about time management. It's about managing energy. I could spend 5 minutes with you, and if I'm completely focused, you get all my energy in that 5 minutes. Or I can spend half an hour with you, and my ball of light's all over the place, and that's where my energy is going. And in that half an hour, you only get a tiny piece of energy. That's why for me, focus is so important, because when I focus, that's where my awareness is going, and that's where my energy is flowing. Where awareness goes, energy flows. And for me, it's all about giving energy to the people and things that truly matter to me.
How do you not what is the right way to say this? It's not too rude, which is like,
can be rude.
which is like,
I'm more a New Yorker than anything
yes,
else.
that's probably true. But like, how do you tell somebody that you don't want them in your energy field anymore? Or how do you stop getting around somebody that's an energy vampire?
Start pulling back. Every time my awareness goes to you, Cody, my energy flows to you, and I'm building an energy connection. The fastest way to get rid of somebody in your life is to stop letting your ball of light go to them. Because imagine if my ball of light's a watering can, and the water in the watering can is energy. Every time my ball of light goes to you, I'm watering my connection with you. And I'm building that energy connection with you. So if I want to get rid of somebody in my life, I just move my ball of light away from them. They no longer get energy, and it just starts to wither away and go away. And the first step I would say in managing energy, a lot of the questions I get asked quite often is, how do I build more energy? Probably people ask you, how do I get more money?
Yeah.
That's not the first question. The first question is, where are you hemorrhaging energy? So if I had a bucket and I wanted to fill the bucket with water, what's the first thing I do? I make sure the bucket's clean. And the second thing I do is make sure the bucket has no holes in it. If the bucket had a hole, why would I put water in it? You'd literally be insane to put water in a bucket that had a hole in it. First step, plug the holes, then fill the bucket with water. So when you look at yourself and your physical body and your mind as a bucket that contains energy, rather than thinking, should I journal, meditate, eat healthy, exercise, go for walks to get more energy, the first question you should be asking, how many energetic holes do I have in my life? Because your body is like a bucket and you're putting more energy in through healthier ways of living. But if you had a hole, where would that energy be going? It'd just be hemorrhaging out all day. First step, plug the holes. Where are you hemorrhaging energy? Who's taking your energy away? What is taking your energy away? There are better ways to say this. Get rid of those. Plug the holes, then start focusing on living a healthier life to get more energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But we need to take a very structured, systematic approach. If we don't, I could meditate all day, drink green juice, exercise, meditate, do all these things to try to put more energy inside of me, but it's perpetually flowing out of me because I just have all these energetic holes.
Do most people, when you explain this to them the first time, get like the feeling I just got, which is like, oh no, I have so many holes. Like, it's almost like a visceral reaction, like, shoot, I'm a leaky bucket.
They do. And if I ask people, how many of you have an energy vampire in your life? Most people go like, do you have a name coming to your head right now?
Totally.
Yeah, I know you do.
I got one
Even
right
he
away.
does too.
Yeah. Right.
I can look at an audience of 2,000 people. I can just see names popping up in their heads right away. Oh, I know who that is. And sometimes it's difficult, right? Because sometimes it's a family member or a relative, a parent, a child, a sibling, and those are much more complicated situations. Sometimes they're not complicated situations. It's a friend from college that you've keeping around like an old shoe, 30 years later, and you think like, why? We aren't aligned anymore.
How do you get people to break through? If all of us have those energy vampires, we never want to stab them in the heart with a stake.
Yes.
Like, what do we do to change that? How do we flip our mentality so we start actually like respecting ourselves more than we do this legacy relationship?
For me, the greatest impetus is death, and realizing that my life is not short, that it's finite. Because I don't believe life is short. When I'm stuck in traffic or waiting for the plane to take off, stuck on the tarmac, I don't think that 1 hour is short. It feels like eternity. So I feel people always say life is short, and I disagree. It's finite. There's a clear, definitive end. So for me, what do I choose to do with the time that I have left? How do I want to live that life? And I realized that I need clarity around my purpose in life, my priorities in life. And once I have clarity around that, I need the ability to focus and the ability to channel substantial energy to those things to make it grow. Like a business where they would raise money, raise capital to invest in it. This is not my area of expertise. I just, know very little. You'd raise money to channel into that, right? Because you need capital to grow the business. So life is no different as well. Once you're clear of your purpose in life, your priorities in life, you think, okay, I need capital now, energy capital, to channel to that, to make those things grow. Now, where am I hemorrhaging energy? Now you have an impetus, a reason to start plugging the holes. But if you don't have a reason to plug the holes, then you're going like, yeah, it's just part of life.
Yeah.
There needs to be a reason. We do things because there's a reason.
So if you're struggling with energy management, the first thing is, okay, now I need to understand my why. And that might be death, the greatest of all.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of this audit. Let me just see where I feel the leaky buckets. Let me write it down. Let me analyze it. And then it's take your awareness away from that connection.
Because where awareness goes, energy flows. Yeah.
So I don't even have to tell them I'm not going to do coffee yet. I just am taking my awareness off them. And then the next step is just spend less time with them.
Yeah. And someone like you, where people come and ask you for advice or pick your brain, or anybody that has an expertise in a certain area, one simple practice I tell people to do is place the burden of responsibility on them. So for example, you know this. So just give them a task to do and see if they'll do it. And if they don't do it, don't meet with them.
What's your go-to task? Do you have one that you give to people?
Yeah, sometimes I will ask them to read my book. Or, sometimes like at events that I speak at, people will come up to me during the break after the event. Can I tell you about my relationship problem or this or that? And I said, I don't have much time right this moment, and I see this as such an important topic for you. Can you send me an email? It'll give me time to read it at home, reflect on it, and write you a response. And people don't email me.
I was going to say, what percentage of people
Nobody
do you think?
does.
Nope. Isn't it wild?
Yeah.
It's actually the craziest thing.
It's so crazy.
My go-to is, before I had a book, it was read somebody else's book. Now that I have a book, it's read mine.
Yeah.
But pick a book, any book, even if you haven't written one, and say like, I'd love to give you advice on that. Let me start here so we have like a shared basis of understanding.
Yes, exactly.
First, you got to read this.
Yep.
And what kills me is people will write you these emails or have these questions, and the feeling that I could they're like, it's life or death that you answer. But it's not.
In front of you, right?
Right.
Yes.
But then the second that you go away, it doesn't, which also gives me I think it makes me realize, so many people say it's really hard to get ahead in life. It's hard to do. And I'm like, I'm not sure, because so many people don't do the very simple thing that would be the first step. And so if you're willing to read the book and did the thing you said you were going to do, which I guess is your first practice. Yeah. If you say you're going to do it and finish it.
Yeah. And people just don't desire things badly enough, Cody, and that's why they never get it. They want everything to be a quick fix, and everything is a hack today. How can we hack this? I've had someone come up to me and say, Dandapani, do you have a quick way for me to slow down? That makes a lot of sense. A quick way for me to slow down. Okay, let me help you with this problem.
You have said that, actually. You have this other line that I meditate on a lot, which is, you have fear when you are not confident in your own personal powers of creation. Yeah. And you need to realize your will is stronger than your mind.
Yes.
When I read that line, I think, man, am I not achieving the thing that I want to achieve because I don't believe that I could, actually? And thus, because I don't believe I could do it, my desire is not strong enough for it. It almost feels like maybe my belief or desire is the thing that stands in the way most often.
I think it's important to say that if anybody ever says they don't have any doubts about achieving something, they're definitely lying. Everybody thinks twice about everything. Even the best athletes I worked with have doubts before a game. It's just a natural part of it. The difference is that they have this tremendous burning desire to achieve it, and that's where they end up getting. So I think for me, at the end of the day, it's the clarity, the crystal clear clarity that you have, and the specificity that comes out of it. And the more clear you are, the more specific it is as to what it is you want. Once that's defined, then it's about harnessing and channeling all that energy to it, in unwavering focus. Mm-hmm. Then that builds the confidence inside of you. But it's hard to have confidence to do something if you're not clear what it is you want. I was very clear I wanted to go to the monastery, not just to be a monk, but enlightenment was what I was seeking. And being a monk was the most efficient way to get there. So I was willing to do that. And when my guru asked me, what are you willing to do? I said, I'm willing to give my whole life for it. I was in my early 20s. My friends were graduating, buying cars, having an apartment, traveling and dating and doing all these things. And I'm like, I'm going to go live in a monastery because that's what I want. So the clearer you are, the narrower your focus becomes. It's the more energy you can channel and funnel towards that, the more confidence you have, the less fear you have that you won't achieve it, that you can get there.
Do you, have you, how do you even ask, have you reached enlightenment? Have you touched that before? Are you still there? How does that work?
I would say, and again, every philosophy is different, so I can only speak from the Hindu philosophy. And again, in the Hindu experience, it's not a binary experience. It's more like I talked about approaching the sun, right? As you get closer and closer, you feel more of the intensity of the sun. As your awareness goes deeper and deeper into the superconscious area of the mind, to the essence of who you are, you experience deeper and deeper states of yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's not a binary like turn on the light and turn off the light, which people think, oh, I close my eyes, I meditate, I experience enlightenment, and then I come out of it. It's you get there, and then eventually you get to the sun and merge with the sun, and then you come back out again. So,
and have you felt that before?
The layers,
like super close to the sun? Is it like, let me tell you, in like a total normie sort of way, like when you do psychedelics. So like if I've done mushrooms, let's say, and I have an experience where I feel like I'm out of body, or I might have talked to God. Is there an experience like that for you in Hinduism that's not obviously done by drugs and altercations?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes. And a very profound experience. Yeah, I'm pausing because I don't talk about this publicly.
This is very personal?
Very personal, very sacred. And sometimes when you share the most sacred inner experience with somebody and people are like, nah.
Because they can't understand
They can't understand.
There's no way to express it.
And same with business, right? You know, I work with clients that run multi-billion-dollar companies. They know when they share something with me, I hold it with sacredness and gentleness, you know. Whereas if they share it with someone else, someone may say a response that is jarring to their nervous system because they just have no way of understanding it. And then they can also put doubt in your mind. Not that I would have it because I've been doing this for so long, but just say, you know, someone who's new on the spiritual path, you go on a retreat or something and you have this profound spiritual experience, you come back and then you share it with a bunch of random people and they go like, you sure you had that? Maybe you were just, you know, this. And then you go like, oh yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden that profound experience you had has been, the energy and the essence and sacredness of it has just been pulled out of it.
Like diminished.
Yes, diminished. And now you start to doubt it and question it.
That's actually beautiful. You're very good at, you know, holding boundaries, which makes sense for a lot of the things that you talked about, such as let me pause. Then I'm going to tell you why I'm going to pause, but not bowing to somebody else's frame, which in podcasting is quite hard to do. I mean, we do a lot of podcasts and I'm curious, so I'll ask a lot of questions that are, some of them are going to be ones people don't really want to answer. But you do it with a lot of grace.
Thank you.
Is that something you work on too?
I do, because one of the things, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't really have a filter between my head and my mouth, you know. So now I've installed a traffic light. And
but it protects some of your more sacred things or allows other people to not influence you fully.
Yes. And also, you have to understand the nature of the internet, right? When something goes on the internet, you're sharing it with the entire spectrum of humanity, which is on one end, a highly evolved, mature soul that is compassionate, that's enlightenment, that has empathy. And then the other end is a very unevolved animal.
Yes, maybe more this than that.
Yes. So when you put information out on the internet, which most people put out without even thinking twice about it, now you give permission for the entire spectrum of humanity to comment on it. And you don't really need comments from the other end of the spectrum. And you know, people are so used to instead of going, just typing their whole life story and my experience, and this is what I had, and do like a download on, you know, on their feed, and you just go like, why? And then some lower-minded person comments something, goes like, this, look at this person, so hateful. They've really hurt me with their comments. It's like, well, what else were you expecting? You cannot expect a low-minded person to have an expression, a high-minded expression. They're incapable of it. Low-minded people will have low-minded expressions. High-minded people will have high-minded expressions. So if something is sacred to you, not only spiritually or business or whatever it is, know your audience. Know your audience every single time and who you're sharing what with, because they can diminish the power of it and cause you to feel not so good about something so sacred. And not only spirituality, business, everything, relationships.
It's a great.
So I'm very protective about who and what I share with and when I share it.
You have your story, had this story in your app that just has stuck with me. And I think it's when I originally reached out to you because I did a video saying that I learned from the story of the napkin.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Will you tell the story and about how it helped me? This one story helped me completely become at peace with people disliking me or people having comments about me, even if they were my loved ones.
Yes.
It changed my context completely.
Yeah. Yeah, I in the first few months of going to the monastery, I felt very selfish that, you know, I have a loving family and I left them, especially my mom, whom I love very much. And I went up to my guru and I said, you know, am I selfish to be living here by myself? And, you know, I haven't talked to my mother again, you know, in my life. And he reached over to his box of Kleenex and he pulled out a tissue and laid it on the table and says, you're in the middle and your mom's in this corner, your dad's in this corner and your brother's in the other corner. And he grabbed the middle and he lifted it up and he says, as you uplift yourself, you uplift everyone that you're energetically connected to. So the work, in essence, what he was saying is that the work that you're doing on yourself, though you might think you're doing it in isolation and very selfishly, you're actually impacting so many people around you that you're energetically connected to. And it completely flipped the narrative in my mind. And then spending this time in the monastery, doing work on myself, I realized was impacting people. And I could see the change of my life being a monastic and how it had on my family and different people around me. And the same for business leaders, right? If you run a company and you're a leader and you work on you to uplift yourself, to get to a higher state of consciousness where you act and react in ways that have better outcomes. That's one way to measure if you're on a higher state of consciousness, that your actions and reactions result in a better outcome for everyone, right, than a lesser outcome, then you impact your whole team just by doing that work on yourself. Because your presence in the office, in the company, every time someone sees you, they interact with you, even if it's for 30 seconds, they walk away feeling good. When I went to see my guru in his office or whenever I saw him, I walked away, I always felt uplifted. Just from his presence. Sometimes just looking at him walking, I go like, huh. And I have a smile on my face. It was because of the work he did on himself. So I think that's, you know, one of the greatest gifts leaders and companies and businesses can do is to do the work to uplift your consciousness and measure the change. Because if you don't measure, you don't know if you're growing.
I think that's one of the most profound things from you too, is that idea of measurement. That probably triggers a lot of other spiritual people.
Triggers all the spiritual people because the new age spiritual people don't like structure. They don't want a path. They don't want rules. They don't want guidelines. All the successful people I've met with are so extremely disciplined. Their life is filled with guidelines and practices and rules and frameworks. The spiritual people, none of that. And they are committed to not being committed. And they're extremely devoted. They have so much devotion to not being committed. Yeah. So when you talk to them about measuring your meditation, your spiritual unfoldment, I'm like, what is this? Why should you measure it? What, do you think it's business? I'm like, yeah, if you're meditating for 2 years and you're still a jerk, well, obviously it's not helping. Why don't you try something else?
It's a great point. And this,
I mean, seriously, right? I mean, why meditate after 2 years and you're still a jerk?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this idea of like, are you still a jerk? And is your life changing in a way that is positive because of your actions? I mean, could you imagine doing a diet and working out and you're fatter and more unhealthy and you have more sickness and you go, I'm going to keep doing this?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
Yes.
Right.
You know, Cody, it's really interesting. In real life, in the world, since it's not real life, in the world, people are very reasonable. Like you said, if you go to the gym and you're doing all these diets and everything, and after 2 years, nothing changes, you probably wouldn't do it. But when it comes to spirituality, all reason goes out the window. And people become so extremely unreasonable. You know, and reason shouldn't end where spirituality begins. You know, it was one of the monks in the monastery had this quote, reason shouldn't end where spirituality begins. But if you end reason, you have more control over people. Because that's when spiritual leaders can be dodgy, can be shady, and create cults. Let's all wear Nike shoes, go in a barn, and set ourselves on fire. That sounds like a brilliant idea. No reason.
No, there's nothing quantitative.
No, now you become a cult and you do whatever you want to do. And that's where you have to be so careful in the spiritual path. And one good litmus test to see if that path or a spiritual teacher is valid and not dodgy is to see if he or she is reasonable or not. And if they're not saying something reasonable, best to move on and find somebody else.
It's a great point. And I love the interweaving of it into business and everything else and life, because it all does seem like part of the practice. And I always like that about your teaching too, because I think one of my personal beliefs is that business is one of the great practices because you have to keep getting better. You have a daily, weekly, monthly scoreboard on if you're better or not. You will always have massive, terrible challenges, no matter how big you get. In fact, maybe higher doubles in some ways.
Yeah.
And so it's this game of like, when things are always going wrong, you have to figure out how could you be some sort of eye in the storm. And the things that really used to trigger me a year ago, not so triggering now. 10 years ago, irrelevant. But I'm still triggered all the time because I have new stimulus, you know? Yeah. And so I love that idea. Where I want to end on is, when you look at Western culture today, what do you think we're getting most dangerously wrong about our spirituality or fulfillment?
People don't want to be committed to any path. They like to eat off the spiritual buffet table. So I'll take a little bit of this, I'll take a little bit of that, I'll do a cold plunge, I'll do some ayahuasca, maybe some yoga and some kundalini, put it all together in a bowl, and it should work for me. You don't approach business that way, do you? No. You define what you want in business. What product are we selling? What service are we offering? Who's our niche market? Who are our target audience? Then you find the people, the consultants, the team that can help you focus on this. If you build mobile applications, you don't hire someone who's an expert in lawnmowers because it's not aligned. But people don't take that reasonable, structured approach to spiritual life. You know, in the West, it's embrace everything. A little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Judaism, pepper some Christianity and some Hinduism in there. And then, you know, let's go to see the shaman in South America. And he's got some leaves I can smoke or chew or whatever, you know. Yep. And just throw it all together and think I'm making progress. Why are you so afraid to commit? All the most successful people in the world commit. The best tennis players commit to playing tennis. They don't try to be professional golfers. The best musicians do music. The entrepreneurs, the best entrepreneurs focus on their niche market. When it comes to spirituality, you just feel like, you know, I can be this free soul. They mistake spirituality with this freedom of I can do whatever I want and not be bound by anything, you know. The greatest progress you can make in spirituality is having structure and framework. And the more structure and more framework you have, the faster you unfold spiritually. Like in anything, going to the gym, business, whatever.
Dandapani, I love your book, The Power of Unwavering Focus. I love your app, which is your name?
Dandapani.
Yeah.
Yep.
That I use on a daily basis. And one of my friends, Stacy, is taking your energy course right now, which she said is amazing too. I haven't tried that one yet. So where do you want people to follow you? Obviously, I think they should try all the three above, but also Instagram?
Instagram would be a great place. I have a link where I can, for this podcast, if you go to dandapani.org/Codie.
Yay.
Yeah, there's 3 things. You can subscribe to my free weekly newsletter that I send out an email giving some insights. And then I have an audio piece in there that shares 3 things that people can implement in their life right away, 3 practices, really simple ones, and also a couple other gifts that they can download for free.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Codie.
It was mostly for me. The audience is going to love it, but I need, this is my podcast today.